First tonight, police forensic officers combed through a Launceston property with neighbours concerned about the welfare of a 24-year-old man. A Tasmanian man accused of murder takes to the stand in a Supreme Court trial. The Health Minister breaks his silence over his own involvement in the firing of Angela Williamson from Cricket Australia. The government backs down on its controversial firearms policy. The latest delivery of hay reaches drought-stricken farmers in New South Wales. And farewelling the Queen of Soul, music legend Aretha Franklin loses her battle with cancer.
Live from our Tasmanian headquarters, this is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. The Health Minister has confirmed he discussed a woman's abortion with her employer, but maintains it was information on the public record. The news came on the same day as negotiations between Angela Williamson and her employer failed before the Fair Work Commission.
Michael Ferguson and the Premier facing the media today as the Cricket Australia scandal continues to play out. The Health Minister today finally confirming he did discuss Angela Williamson's abortion with the Cricket Tasmania boss.
The motive here has been to try to settle a dispute or to calm it down and to allow people to keep doing their work and their job. Ms
Williamson was sacked from her government relations role in June after using Twitter to criticise the government over access to low-cost abortions. She herself travelled to Melbourne for the procedure. In a tweet in May, she shared an article about an anonymous Tasmanian who travelled to Melbourne for a surgical abortion. She added, "You share your story, hoping it convinces the government to act urgently." And 5 months later, nothing. No meeting with the Premier, no results. Mr Ferguson says this was confirmation on the public record. Miss Williamson had an abortion, and he believed the article was about her. Cricket Tasmania later phoned him to apologise for the tweets, but Mr Ferguson refused several times today to say whether during this phone call he was the first one to tell Miss Williamson's boss that she had the procedure.
Yes, I have discussed Ms Williamson's tweets with Cricket Tasmania, including the one where Ms Williamson told her story.
The tweet that he is basing his flimsy defence on does not identify Ms Williamson as the woman featured in the article in question.
I think that the personal circumstances do help to get an employer to understand why Ms Williamson would have felt the need to lash out the way she did, even though it was no apology required.
The Premier says the Minister hasn't breached the Code of Conduct.
No Code of Conduct investigation is warranted, and in my view, certainly no breach has occurred.
Miss Williamson and Cricket Australia today took part in a Fair Work conciliation hearing. Miss Williamson alleged she was unfairly sacked. Cricket Australia said it had been empathetic to her circumstances and that it had reaffirmed the necessity to administer social media policy while respecting people's rights to publish personal views. The parties failed to agree. Now the matter goes to the Federal Court. Michelle Wisby at Southern Cross News.
Detectives remain at the scene of a forensic investigation tonight, with officers spending the afternoon combing through a riverside property. Neighbours have told Southern Cross News missing 24-year-old Jake Daniel Anderson Bretner is often seen at the house.
A home in a quiet neighbourhood now at the centre of a crime investigation. Residents in the area saying police began arriving at the property late last night.
And they've been there probably ever since, so I don't know, probably the most suspicious thing was that, yeah, they were here so late and there were so many of them, and we had family coming home, and they just kept coming in the door saying there's more and more, so I found that probably a bit more suspicious, but yeah.
Neighbours also saying a young couple resided in the property, with several describing them as friendly.
To themselves, but yeah, always just friendly talking sort of over the fence and things, but otherwise to themselves. Yeah.
Another neighbour saying missing Launceston man Jake Daniel Anderson Bretner regularly came and went from the residence, and that his 3 cars were often parked either in the driveway or on the street. Police today would not link their calls for information in regards to the whereabouts of the 24-year-old, with the forensic investigation taking place at the Dion Crescent home. Neighbours today still questioning the heavy police presence.
It's a really good neighbourhood. Like, I've been here for a long time, since I was a little tacker, and yeah, never had any problems, nothing.
Neighbours also saying today they saw members of the SES join police in searching the street and surrounding areas.
The van arrived this morning, yes, and they were here till early afternoon, sort of through the different parts of the neighbourhood.
Anyone with information in regards to the whereabouts of Jake Anderson Bretner is urged to contact police. Jessie Gilmore, Southern Cross News.
A Tasmanian accused of stomping another man to death has taken the stand as the final witness in a 2-week-long murder trial. Anthony Colin Finnegan told a Launceston Supreme Court jury the deceased, Peter John Fitzgerald, was alive when he left him on the night of November 30, 2016. The accused saying a drunken argument at Mr Fitzgerald's home in Kerry Court, Summer Hill, had turned physical, and that he, after being struck from behind himself, had punched Mr Fitzgerald in the side of the head. The altercation continued to the laundry, where Mr Finnegan said he had undoubtedly trodden on Mr Fitzgerald, but had done so trying to stop he and another man fighting. He told the jury he did not stomp or kick Mr Fitzgerald's head, and that the deceased was breathing when he left the property after midnight. Mr Finnegan has pleaded not guilty to the murder charge. The trial continues. The state government is backing away from its promised changes to Tasmania's gun laws. The Liberals pledge to extend licence durations, the use of silencers, and potentially relax rules for semi-automatic weapons. The government says it will reconsider its firearms policy after a parliamentary inquiry delivers its findings.
We will not pursue the policy proposals that we had previously put forward until such time as the committee has responded.
The Sporting Shooters Association says the government made certain commitments before the election and it wouldn't want them to renege on those. Tasmania's housing crisis has received some welcome relief, with a new multi-million-dollar facility opening its doors in Devonport. The state government admits more is needed, but tenants say the facility has already changed their lives.
It wasn't long ago when 19-year-old Kyle was in a dark place, struggling for stability after finding himself in housing limbo.
And I was scared, I was worried, I wasn't sure if I would be able to push out of that place that I tried to leave so long ago, and thankfully I was made aware of this place.
This place is Evelyn House, now a home to 25 young people in need, including Rowena Curtis, who was going from couch to couch before moving in here.
It's hard because I've worked through the whole time. I have had a job the whole time, and you live out of a bag.
Anglicare estimates 1,600 Tasmanians are homeless. Its CEO says the North West Coast has needed a facility like this for years. And only weeks after welcoming its first tenants, one is back on their own 2 feet.
There's also been someone who's moved out. They've found a job, they've got into the private rental market. So it's actually been really good to hear the great stories from the young people.
And we probably need more. I mean, the job's not done. But what we've found here is this is the latest and the best model.
Units are available to young people eligible for social housing.
And more than what I imagined I would have access to.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Prominent conservationists are urging Tasmanians to have their say on how we should be protecting our wildlife. A Senate inquiry is looking into what's being labelled Australia's extinction crisis.
A group of prominent Tasmanians joining together in the face of what they say is a crisis here at Beaumaris Zoo in Hobart is an example of our previous failings in protecting wildlife. This is where the last known Tasmanian tiger died.
And it's a fitting reminder of what will happen to so many species if we allow this extinction crisis to continue.
The Wilderness Society is worried about endangered species like the swift parrot, falling through what it says are gaps in protection. A Senate inquiry is probing the issue.
This is a great opportunity for scientists to put in their expert opinion and for laymen to put in their views about why they love our species and why they want them protected.
Greg Irons is on the front line of rescue services in Tasmania at his wildlife hospital.
Dealing with these animals every single day, it can be an incredible frustration for us when you work so hard to save something, knowing that in the back end the problems aren't being fixed.
We need a strong national environmental protection agency backed up with strong laws to give it teeth so finally we can start protecting our plants and animals.
Submissions to the inquiry have been extended until the 10th of September. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Welcome back. Tasmanian researchers have found we're not talking to our GPs about an important and growing issue. The Menzies Institute uncovered most overweight or obese people aren't discussing weight management with their doctor. Less than half of those in the severe obesity category had talked with their GP about the issue in the last 12 months.
GPs are a really important first port of call for lots of health reasons. We ask a lot of our GPs and they need to be across many aspects of our health. They are also a really important referral to other services like weight management.
67% of Tasmanian adults and 30% of children are overweight or obese. Well, thousands of curious young Tasmanians have spent the day engaging with the wonders of science at the Festival of Bright Ideas. Our next generation involved in everything from eating worms to patting pigs as part of National Science Week.
It's a pampered pig's day out. These miniature creatures today showing off their training and entertaining the crowds.
We got these when they were babies and we've been raising them ever since.
Lots of little kids are coming over and they're really excited to see all the animals.
They're just one of the many exhibits at the Festival of Bright Ideas, with thousands of students engaging with the wild, the weird and the wonderful.
In one day they just get so much exposure in a way that's really intensifying.
Can really just trigger kids' imagination completely, and just one visit might be the thing that spurs them on to study science.
This grossologist making what's every day into an educational extravagance.
I wanted to show kids all about mucus and saliva and all the enzymes in your digestive system that break down all the food, so I did an experiment which I think might have been even too gross for some kids.
While at the 24-carat garden, students are taking a microscopic look at insects that could be found in their own backyard and what could possibly be found next on their dinner plate.
There are lots of pressures on world food production. We're heading to 9 billion. Insects as food have been presented as one of the potential solutions, being that they can eat our food waste, create compost and a high-value protein.
The experimentation continues at Princess Wharf 1 tomorrow. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Australian shares have closed higher and the benchmark index has established a fresh 10-year high as an easing in US-China trade worries underpinned a week of solid company gains. The ASX 200 index has risen by 10.9 points. Just a short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 72.73 US cents and 110.23 New Zealand cents. Sport is next now with Tom Johnson. Happy Friday, Tom. St Kilda's coach feeling the heat.
Well, happy Friday to you too, Joe. And yes, he certainly is after leaving a lot to be desired this season. We'll have the latest on the Saints after the break. Also coming up, the golfer who's made history overnight and a top 3 spot on the line in the final round before the TSL finals. Well, it's crunch time for 3 TSL clubs in the race for a top 3 spot. Launceston, Clarence and Lauderdale each have an opportunity to nab the double chance in the last round before finals.
3 games and 3 teams vying for a double chance, but none of the contenders are playing each other. Launceston has the best percentage of the trio, but faces a strong opponent in Glenorchy.
I think any coach last round before finals is hoping not to show everything. You hope your players roll out, play brilliantly, you win, and you don't have to change much.
Lauderdale is a dark horse facing the toughest rival in North Launceston, but an unlikely win paired with Launceston and Clarence losing would see the side leapfrog into the top 3.
No one in the competition's unbeatable. If they come down and they're not on their game, then we'll have a crack at them.
While Clarence has the easiest matchup against the Tigers, but a long injury list, as many as 20 players from under-18s through to seniors, means the Roos task might be harder than it looks.
We're not in a great spot in terms of our health of our injury list, but we can't complain about that.
As for the Tigers, it's a dead rubber. The coach says he's already shopping for new names in 2019.
Yes, we'd love a tall target up forward. Obviously, Cooper Sorty will come back into our team next year, who had a really good start to the season.
All games are on at 2 p.m. tomorrow.
South Hobart's NPL season is on the line this week in coach Ken Morton's eyes. He says South needs to beat Launceston City at Darcy Street tomorrow to stay within reach of the title. Devonport Strikers are 3 points clear of South on top of the table, but Devonport also has to balance its FFA Cup clash on Tuesday night.
We're really waiting for Devonport to slip up, but if we keep winning our games, it keeps the pressure on them, and they have a difficult game midweek in the Cup as well.
3 rounds remain in the season. And Tasmania's bid to become the next NBL franchise has received a cautious endorsement from the league's boss. Speaking on Melbourne radio this morning, Larry Kestelman says he wants to make sure the Southern Huskies are the best placed team to help basketball grow.
We love our friends in Tassie, and if we can make that happen in a way that builds the sport and makes it sustainable, then we'll absolutely have a look at how we can do that. It'll probably not be for the following year, but potentially for the year after.
The league says clubs from across the country are fighting to become the NBL's 11th team. And Joe, tomorrow night we'll be crossing live to Melbourne for the Tornadoes and the Chargers in their Seabull Championship game, so a massive night ahead for Tassie.
My word, it will be. Thanks so much for that, Tom. Coming up after the break, Carmen will be joining us with a look at the day's weather.
Good evening. A fine and partly cloudy day across the state today, apart from some showers across the north and west during the day. Hobart reached 16 degrees, 13 for both Launceston and Burnie, and Devonport 12. 17 was the state's maximum today, recorded at Bushy Park. Friendly Beaches 16, 15 for Ouse and Grove. King, Flinders and Maria Islands all 14, 14 also for Smithton and St Helens. Low Head and Strawn 13, and Lyweenie made it to 6 after a cold start of -1 degrees. Looking to the satellite now, and we can see mid-level cloud over the north and west of the state. On the bigger picture there is a mid to high level cloud band approaching western Tasmania and Victoria. Speckled low level cloud lies to the west and south of the band, and the rest of the country is mostly cloud free. Tomorrow a low sits just to the south of Tasmania, a trough extends from that low toward Adelaide, and a cold front extends from New South Wales into the Tasman Sea. Northwesterly winds 20 to 30 knots, tending westerly 15 to 25 knots during the morning, reaching 35 knots about the northwest later in the evening. There are a few warnings across the state tomorrow. A gale warning for northwestern coastal waters, a strong wind warning for all remaining coastal waters, a minor flood warning for the Derwent River, a flood watch for most of the remainder of the state, and a warning to sheep graziers for northwest coast and central north forecast districts. To tomorrow's forecast, showers easing in the south, Hobart 13, Maydena 9 and Oatlands 10. Showers easing in Launceston 12 degrees, 11 for Devonport with wind easing, and 4 degrees for Lyweenie with showers or possible snow easing there. Showers in the west, Burnie and Marrawar 11, 10 at Strawn. And showers will be easing along the east coast also tomorrow with 13 degrees forecast for St Helens and Orford and 14 for Swansea. Looking ahead to Sunday, showers about western, southern and central areas and along the east coast, fine elsewhere. And there are snowfalls expected to around 300 metres in the southwest and 500 metres elsewhere. Monday, showers in the west and far south extending statewide during the afternoon, and showers about the west, far south and Bass Strait Islands, mainly fine elsewhere on Tuesday. A look at the rest of the country now. Showers for Adelaide, Melbourne and Canberra, sunny for most other centres.